Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Offset World. My name is Alain Fernandez, and I'm a part of ECO. It's an association about offset, and I would like first to give you a small introduction to offset, because a lot of people have heard about offset, but I think they have a wrong understanding and sometimes the wrong approach. So we will try to give you another standing of what is offset, and after that with Philippe Rivière from ACI, how to implement offset policy to the benefit of a company. So offset, there are various definitions about offset, but it's a form of direct or indirect economic return to counter the burden of foreign purchase upon the acquiring government. I will pass about it. Well, it's a moving target. More and more countries are applying offset regulation worldwide, and every day, every week, every month, new countries are putting offset regulation in place. How and why? It's for the country, it's access to technology, improvement of foreign direct investment, easing the trade imbalance, and it's a political ammunition to justify a big contract in defense. It's to improve sovereign debt position and countering the foreign currency inflows. It can take various forms, and program joint development, direct investment or facilitation of investment, transfer of technology, placement of contracts, subcontracting, export facilitation, etc. But the best way to speak about offset and to see how it is done, it's really to go to the real world, and here I give the floor to Philippe Rivière to speak about offset.
Hello everybody, thank you again ECO to have this opportunity to present ACI Group. I'm Philippe Rivière, the CEO. Just for your information, ACI is a supplier for aerospace, defense, energy and the medical market in Europe. The key figure is 80 million euro turnover and 700 people. Now, on this position, we decided on the board to create a new job on the company. It's the offset director. I pass after to Sami, his job now, in order to implement the offset strategy. And why we decided that? Because today on the group like ACI on this position and this key figure is very complex in terms of mentality to say we can propose and we can support our customer on the offset. Why? Because we need to go on the oversize. Plus, of course, we know it's critical and we can have some risk on the offset. This is why now we have a specialist guys plus eco supplier in order to decide which type of offset is possible, which type of offset is critical for us. Okay, now I pass to Sami. He will say to you and explain our strategy, how we implement that on the ACI. After we have a question if you want.
Thank you, Philippe. So hello, Sami Jabarin, and as Philippe mentioned, I am responsible now for the offsets in the ACI group. And can you hear me? Is that better? So my role as managing the offset is first of all being the main point of contact with an organization like ECO, which gives us visibility on offset opportunities and where our customers are going to be needing us. And that along also with our own very close relationships with our customers who need offsets, who are mainly in defense. And so this is the way that we are getting insight on offset opportunities. And we have started already by signing a joint venture in India. It's the first step that we are taking in order to create ACI Group. So the first step was signing a joint venture. This is a typical way that we'll be working. And of course, it's not finished. The second step will be to officialize offsets in order for our customers to use these offsets for their advantage. And the next step will be looking at, we've already started, we're exploring Greece also for opportunities in order to create offsets there as well. And that will be to support the French defense market principally. And the way we do this is a case-by-case basis. It's we either go in through acquisition or creating partnerships. And this is the way that we go. We look at opportunities in order to see how we're going to officialize offsets through the actions that we do. Do you have any questions? Tell me, Bernard.
How did you decide, commonly with the company, as a company, discussing with a governmental body about offset? Was it difficult to convince, or was the business mood or the governmental mood with the social responsibility framework in favor of convincing the both parts to achieve these goals within the context that you just introduced to us?
First of all, supporting offsets, especially in the defense industry, it will make you more attractive to your customers. So ACI being a very French-based group, it's one way of actually making our factories in France much more sustainable, because the more attractive we are to our customers in the defense industry, then this will also support our contracts in France. So it's actually a win-win situation for us. So that was the motivation behind. And afterwards, being a relatively small group, we're able to be much more responsive. I mean, from the moment that Philippe had the idea, we transformed it very quickly into a new position, which I took. The fact I also come from defense background, and this also helped to go much more quickly. And this is an advantage when you're working with offsets, coming from an industry which is very familiar with offsets. So being close with our customers as well, this allows us to have visibility on where the offsets will be needed. So the interface with customers and with organizations like ECHO, it's extremely important to anticipate well in advance. This allows you to explore a little bit in advance, and then of course have a look if it's in line with our own strategy of international development as well.
Thank you very much. I have a question about how you get the support from your customer being the main clients, like perhaps Dassault Aviation, Naval Group, and Nexter and BDA. So how do you approach them, because they are the obligors with offset obligation, they have a relationship with the offset authorities. So how do you interfere with them, and what is the support that you get from them?
So our first point of contact with our customers is the purchasing department, first of all, and what we started to do with companies like you've mentioned actually already is we start to talk about this position. We start to talk about that we've created a role to support this. And the purchasing department tends to be already very sensitive to offsets. And what we find is in all these companies that you mentioned, there is a reference for offsets. There is somebody who's managing that. And they immediately want to introduce the person who's responsible for offsets to that person in those companies. So that immediately creates a point of contact specifically for this subject. Yeah? So it's in this way we've got a lot of interest from our customers.
Another question, if you may. In order to qualify for being an offset transaction, usually the offset authorities want the obligor to be part of the new business of a joint venture, or to bring some purchasing order to the local business. Is it the case? Do you discuss upfront these problematics and issues with the offset obligor?
We discuss all type of opportunities. There is, of course, of buying locally. The advantage that we have in ACI Group, especially with Philippe, is we are very accustomed to acquisitions, where we acquire companies, and this helps a lot. It gives a lot of opportunities to concretely produce value locally where we need to go. But we can. There are various ways, as of course you know, in order to validate offsets.
Yeah, thank you for your question, because it's one of the key points, and we have more knowledge because we are dual company, and we have more knowledge for the civil business. Like you can have here an example with deviation in Malaysia, because we do. It's like offset compensation for Airbus, but on the civil, for helicopters and aircraft. And of course, when we search a partner very close. In this case for the government or for this customer. This is why now it's very important to have one focus on the director in order to have a great partner on the great country.
I'm not familiar with the French defense government offset strategy. So, but usually you support from the point of view in the French defense market and the government, right? So, but nowadays, many countries who want to export and import and some defense armaments, they strongly demand and need some their country's defense SME the companies to break in and some your global supply chain. So, for example, your French companies such as Thales or some whatever. So, but nowadays you really know where some kind of a tendency and some cut the break and some the global chain. So, in the block. And in some very strong tendency of localization and their independence of their parts and some their technology. So just superficially, is it some tended to looked and it's a little bit contradictory and there's some offset and very stimulate and there's some global supply chain very easily, fluently. So, but the other side. So after COVID and a very big global crisis, the even defense industry, so very strong tendency, and inside they are local in each countries and localized independent of their technology. So I would like to hear about your special opinion about this kind of and the globalization or something, anti-globalization and the globalization of the offset itself.
If I understand the question, it's how it affects small businesses, how the tendency of having the need to provide offsets when you're exporting or importing defense equipment, and how this affects particularly small businesses, for example, French small businesses, how it will affect when the French are exporting and they need to provide offset obligations somewhere else, how it's affecting our local small businesses? Was this the question, or?
Well, if I understand this, more and more countries are looking for localization inside the countries. So our offset is there any conflict of between localization and offset? But I think you have the case with ACIs. ACIs is localization of their activities in the country, and they answer to these constraints. More and more, you're right, more and more countries around the world want their SMEs and local businesses to be part of large defense contract. But the answer is like a ACI group. They create joint ventures with local actors, local entrepreneurs to answer both the offset requirement and to answer the need for localization. I think it's not against one each other. It's totally complementary.
I'd actually add that when we are looking to create a joint venture locally, what tends to happen in the big groups is that they have to work with their competitors at the country where they're going to export to. And this is where a lot of complications arise. The advantage that we have at our level is that we don't need to work with our competitors when we are looking to create joint ventures. In fact, some of our strategy also includes to find companies which are providing complementary skills to what we have in the group. So in fact, when we're looking to go in one of these countries, we're also looking for skills that we don't have internally. So in fact, the group, we can, our companies of the group, we can use that company in order to provide an extra skill, a bigger work package. And that company will be buying components from our companies in France in order to create that work. So I think this is a big advantage that we have with small companies, and this is the way that we're going.
And just to complement, I think the most important is to know the supply chain on the country. And on the defense market, frequently the supply chain is like a black box. The network is not very expanded. This is why the job of SAMI is very key for us in order to know the network and to connect the different clusters and the different network.
Another question?
I'm a rookie in offset, you know, but I think that my question would be some from other people's questions. It's about your beliefs about the fact that offsets were the appanage of big companies, big international companies. Now it's going to SMEs, even small companies. According to you, why the future of offsets is mainly made of small and middle enterprises structured into clusters, as you said, Philippe, rather than big companies that get used to offset, of course, have the ability and the budget to build some and to offer some projects that deal with valuable but very big size offset. But now what we deal with smaller markets, so smaller compensations, is the future made of little offset rather than big offset in a governmental era. In other words, is the future of offset something like I would say a very local initiatives with social ecology, transition, schools, hospitals, etc. This is my question of a rookie once again.
Just one word for me is agility. With our size, we can have some investor, and we have the potential investment on the equity, but in parallel we keep our agility compared to the big OEM. This is, for me, that is very key.
The other thing is that the ADN or the DNA of ACI or groups like this, and I think it's the same in all countries, is that we're very much attached to the territory and supporting local economies, and groups like ACI are very much into that philosophy. And I think when you go around the world, everybody has that philosophy. So when we begin now initiatives at our level with small companies creating joint ventures or acquisitions or partnerships with the objective or with the initiative to create offsets, then I think it's very important that I think that this is very much valued by the companies which are buying defense equipment. They're asking for offsets, and as in France, it's always the big companies which have been benefiting when the government has been buying equipment. So in this way, it actually will create much more support from the population because they see concretely small companies in the different territories of that country benefiting directly from this kind of purchase. And this fits very much with our culture in ACI and the work that Philippe is doing constantly with administrations, at all different levels. And I think this will be seen also with the counterparts we have where we'll be creating offset.
Well, Philippe,
we have a later now after the conference if you have any question.
Well, I would like, if there is any other question, I would like to thank you, both of you and ACA, because really it's what offset should be. It should not be a constraint, as a lot of people are seeing offset, but it should be an opportunity for a large group, of course, but also for small and medium-sized enterprises to take advantage of offset to develop their business abroad. So thank you, gentlemen, for having taken the offset, the overlay, and really building new opportunities through offset. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again. Just a word about ECO. Actually, this cycle of conferences. So this is the first row of our conferences. The second will be tomorrow. You will have two conferences, one at noon, the second one at 3. Tomorrow will be with Joost van Gemert from Rheinmetall. The second one will be with Rajiv Shib from, we will talk, very interesting, a war game about what is happening when a company doesn't comply with his industrial compensations obligations. Very interesting. And this Thursday, Alain will be back to extend his proposal. You just have the trailer of his conference today. So we really hope that you will be back tomorrow and this Thursday to attend to the other conferences about offset. Thank you once again. See you.